These rat catchers really think they can waltz right into Greydale and mess with my affairs. They don't yet know the hornet's nest they've poked. Go. Take the culprits tonight. I am so looking forward to meeting them. Hey everyone, welcome back to DM Diaries, where I share with you tales from Dungeons & Dragons with the hope that you can learn something from my shenanigans. If you've been following along with us, last week our players left off confused and paranoid. They just killed half the blacksmith's family in self-defense when he seemingly attacked them at random. They also discovered imps and zombies in the old abandoned mining facility. They threw in support with the Baron because if they were going to get to the bottom of whatever is going on in Greydale, they needed to trust someone. But now evening will soon be upon them, and they need a place to stay. So they've chosen the Broken Bowstring Inn. Back in session 5 or so, the general store owner subtly manipulated them into choosing that inn, and it was time for me to reap some of the payoff of that. They meet the barkeep, Dan. He's friendly, but also a weirdo. His quirky actions, such as like eating a sandwich the wrong way, make the players laugh, but it causes disgust in their characters. Many party members talk to him, but the usefulness of any info he gives them is honestly kind of questionable. One moment he's confirming beliefs and information they already have. The next moment he's adding his own conspiracy theories, such as, got a hunch that there's something in the lake, or people have been eating dirt and it messes with their heads here, you know. Or, there's someone who watches my inn alone from an alley at night. I deliver these lines in a tone that depicts the statements as ridiculous, which they are. He certainly knows something and is helpful, but he's also a little bit of a whack job. Some might ask, so what's my goal here? Well, I'll tell you. The players are high-strung, on edge, and paranoid right now. This town is weird, and they are looking for shadows in every corner. So I'm using this barkeep to disarm my players. Note, I mean the players and not their characters. You have to remember that actions affect characters, but tone affects the players. If the tone is always dire, then dire becomes the norm, and then dire isn't dire anymore. If you can't find ways to bring your players down from 11, then their default tone becomes a place of heightened awareness, dread, and paranoia. There's several reasons why that's just not a good place to keep your players at all the time. Because it constricts the range of emotion your players are going to feel during the course of their campaign. If the tone is always dire, then your deep and impactful moments, such as the first reveal of your big bad evil guy, or the party reaping the consequences of their prior actions, just won't hit as hard. You'll end up disappointed when you feel like you nailed the moment, but your players' reactions are just meh. And you know what? That's not really their fault. If the tone is always such that it's in dire straits, you're literally training them to expect these things. Game of Thrones spoilers ahead so that I can make my analogy with something that's more rooted in pop culture. So, in Season 1, when a certain Stark dies, that really messed you up, didn't it? Because you weren't expecting it, unless you read the books, of course. But then when a certain other Stark dies in Season 3, in a very famous moment, that you might have got caught off guard. You know, a lot of people still got caught off guard by that. From that moment on, pretty much, you are expecting that out of Game of Thrones, so future moments, no matter how good they are, they just don't quite hit as hard. Perhaps that actually isn't the most perfect analogy in the world, but basically the point I'm getting at is, vary your tone over the course of a story arc. If you have a very dark story arc where your players are starting to get paranoid because there's a lot of dissonance and lies, like in my case, add moments like this for comedic relief so that they can come up for air. So that the next time you drag them down into your little web of lies, it'll land. Another reason is because everyone comes to the table for different reasons, but no matter what those reasons are, we as DMs crave investment from our players. And I've just personally found out the hard way through a lot of mistakes that it is just really hard for your players to invest themselves if everything is on fire all the time. But alas, their moment of relief lasts only so long. The party gets 3 rooms at the Broken Bowstring, and they split off at night like this. Otto and Steven together, with Otto casting the alarm spell. Shivas and Sayri together, where Shivas will summon Cerberus, their onyx dog, to guard them. And Aster and Reginald together with Danny watching over them at night, because she's a ghost and does not need to sleep. I don't usually go too deep into the RP for the purpose of these videos, but there was actually some funny interactions between Otto and Steven that I thought were very important. See, Steven is a noble who is very full of himself, and Otto is from a more traditional culture that respects nobility and views them as the ones in society who make sacrifices for the common people. So they spend a while tooting each other's horns, and all the players are laughing. But there was an important piece of information translated here. See, Otto shared that in Session 1, when he had cast Detect Magic in the first inn, he had picked up illusion magic from Sayri and Shivas. Sayri revealed herself as a satyr, but Otto doesn't know yet the illusion of Shivas. This was the first time a party member in canon had suggested that there might be something going on with Shivas. See, Shivas is really masquerading to the other players as Valerie Chamberlain, Knight of Agma, but in reality that player is a UNT cleric, but the rest of the party has no idea yet, so I'm interested to see where this plot thread goes over time. But when you run a game titled Dark Delusions, all moments of brevity and laughter must eventually come to an end. While Aster and Reginald sleep, Danny begins sifting through Aster's diary, but she's interrupted. A secret panel kicks open in the back of the bedroom, and a priestly woman flicks a silver coin in the room while whispering, "Silence." A roguish fellow strolls in and fires a poison dart into Aster's neck, and robed figures begin pouring in the front door of their bedroom. They begin stabbing into Reginald. Both awaken, screaming, but with no sound. Several rooms away, Otto is awoken by his alarm spell going off. He shouts for Steven to wake up, and then holds his action to cast Chromatic Orb on whatever is on the other side of the door. On his turn, Steven casts Thaumaturgy and forces the door open. A confused, robed figure begins to pull his sword when Otto's Chromatic Orb triggers. A ball of poison flies into the cultist's face, killing him. They rush out of the room and see that another cultist is holding the door to Sayri and Shivas' room shut. Back in the other room, Reginald, riddled with stab wounds, transforms into his werewolf form. He smashes one of his stabbers' heads against the wall. The roguish fellow responds in kind by rolling across the floor and sticking Reginald with the pointy end of his rapier. On his turn, the cultist, keeping Sayri and Shivas' door shut, runs back to the room where all the action's happening. All the commotion wakes the two of them. Rushing across the second floor of the inn, Steven bangs on their door, yelling, "Wake up, we're getting murdered." When she sees the cultist who was tasked with guarding Sayri and Shivas' door, the priestess realizes that the jig is up and she drops silence to go for her big guns. She upcasts Scorching Ray on Aster and Reginald. It severely hurts Aster, but Reginald goes unconscious, and the priestess begins to escape through the secret panel. The ordinary cultists are all slowly dispatched by the party, and the enemy priestess and rogue make their escape, but they are cut off. Danny goes through the wall and possesses the priestess, and Otto knocks the rogue to the ground with Sapping Sting, intent on capturing him. The priestess clutches her holy symbol, whispering one final apology to her roguish friend. "Sorry, Willibald." And out from her erupts radiant energy, severely damaging Shivas and knocking out both Aster and Otto. Her rogue friend is vaporized by the blast. On Danny's turn, she throws the priestess's holy symbol away and then cancels her possession. The party attempts to continue their pursuit once they heal everyone up, but the priestess has a head start and she makes it down the stairs where there are no lights and she hides. It is now a stealth encounter for her. I had high hopes that she might get away, but alas, the party found her and apprehended her. No longer having a holy symbol or many spell slots, she is their prisoner. When they begin their interrogation, she opens with, "By the will of the cultivator, I shall tell you villains nothing." She's clearly from the temple of Saint Roswin. In Iskrva, Roswin is a saint of Pelor, the saint of agriculture to be exact. She attempts to paint this very clever picture of herself, where the party are the villains who strolled into town, killed the blacksmith, and they're too dangerous to be left alone, and she must deal with them swiftly and at the call of night. Had there been a crowd of townsfolk in the inn, this might have worked and she might have been able to rally the common people's support against our heroes. But in this situation, she's alone, and the party doesn't buy her reasons. They think she's in on everything, and they're right. Insight checks confirm that she's lying through her teeth, but she still won't tell them anything. Oh, I forgot to mention something critically important actually. Back during the fight, Stephen had attempted to cast suggestion on one of the cultists, and it failed without even a roll being had. That combined with their conversation with this priestess, where her mind almost seems clouded as they interrogate her. She's not giving over any information, but she kind of believes something through the lies. They start to develop this hypothesis that maybe the townsfolk, some of them at least, are mind controlled. Anywho, all the screaming wakes up Dan the barkeep, who can't keep from the players that he knew this attack was coming. He convinces them that he was just scared. Two powerful forces coming to blows, and what was a powerless man like a barkeep supposed to do? They send him back to bed with Danny watching over him while she's possessing the bird Nox that they have. He isn't too happy about all the bodies upstairs, but Danny bribes him, and that's all we're going to hear on that front for now. The party decides to drag the priestess to the Baron's house. Stephen casts darkness to block their sight as they move at night, but he also notices that there's someone watching them in the inn, and upon seeing the darkness, the figure runs away. Remember when I was telling you all about the barkeep's conspiracy theories? Maybe not all of them were crazy. So they split up again. Esther, Reginald, and Stephen to the Baron, and Sari, Shivas, and Otto follow the figure to a nearby house. The same house that several people in town were very weary of, as there were newcomers there who were not mixing in well. Sari knocks on the door, and to everyone's surprise, a drow opens. She smacks Sari on the top of the head with her bow and says, "Since you came to town, you've been running around making so much noise. You're threatening our entire investigation. Get inside right now." And that is where I ended the session. The party is pretty confused and dumbfounded right now, and I like ending the session on that note. See, it's really weird to see drow in town. Most Iskrvans view drow as either enemies or monsters who come to the surface at night to raid human settlements, taking resources and prisoners. It's exceptionally odd for there to be drow in a human settlement in Iskrva, but all will be revealed to them in time. This was another great session in my book. The players got attacked at night for their actions the prior session, and they began to deduce that letting the blacksmith's daughter go to the temple may have in some way led to all this. Things are definitely picking up in town though. Before they were finding hidden monsters and getting attacked by commoners. Now, an unknown enemy is sending agents to assail the players at night. I just can't wait to see what happens next. If you liked this video, feel free to subscribe, like, and if you want, share it with a friend. I'd love to answer any questions or hear your thoughts, so feel free to comment below as well. Until next time, I am Clay, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.